This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Social revolution brings about change. Cultural norms and landmarks shift as our minds and hearts expand beyond the familiar. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose in the land of the living. This is our time to renew, revive, and restore the hope lost to the busyness of life. This is our time to dig again and rebuild from the storms of our past on a solid footing that holds. Welcome to The Foundation.
The Foundation.
The Foundation of Hard Grant is brought to you by Alive, the Bahamas Football Association, Bahamas Welding and Fire, Burger King, Commonwealth Bank, and Marco's Pizza.
Foundation. Foundation.
You know, every now and then, I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice, easy. But there's just one thing.
Job down in the city.
You see, we never, ever do nothing.
Working for the man
Nice,
every night and
easy.
day.
We always do
I
it
never lost
nice,
1 minute of sleep.
rough.
And I will
But we're going to take the beginning of this song
and
do it easy.
Big wheel, keep
But then we're going to do the finish.
turning.
Rough,
Proud Mary,
the way we
keep
do.
on burning.
Proud Mary. And we're rolling, rolling, rolling on the river. Listen to the story. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost 1 minute of sleep. And
I was
worrying about the way that things might have been.
You know that
Big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. And we're rolling,
rolling,
rolling, yeah,
rolling,
rolling on the river. The river cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis.
you know I
Pumped a lot of change down in New Orleans. But I never saw the good side of the city until I hitched a ride on the riverboat queen.
know the
Big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. And we're rolling.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. We're rolling like on the river. Listen to me, man. It's a wonderful thing to have you here on this Small Business Thursday, live and in full effect. It is absolutely gorgeous to kind of be in your company on this beautiful day. I wanted to pay commemoration to none other than Tina Turner, who we know as Anime. Remember Anime? Remember watch movie, right? You the kick Anime. Listen, this is she's an icon, and she's a generation and some, my senior. But the impact that she's made in music, the impact that she's made in Black lives, there's kind of an idea for liberation even for Black women during a time when there was relentless segregation. She was born in 1939. So you know that this was during the Second World War, just after. And so there's kind of an idea that Black women, more specifically, can be able to step up and do these things. We've watched her documentaries. We know her iconic contribution that she's made to the culture, to us as a people. I watched I watch, people everybody wants to kind of say, I remember Tina Turner. I can't. I watched something with Oprah last night, popped up across my phone. And she says she got Tina Turner's wig. And she just kept wearing it. She just kept wearing it everywhere until Stedman had to tell her, is nobody going to tell you? So she said, tell me what? That you're not Tina Turner. Made me laugh. And to think about sort of the economic liberation and position that Oprah Winfrey is, and the preamble of her name, the richest black woman, that sort of always goes before the richest black woman. And even she found her inspiration in Tina Turner. I think it's fitting for us to kind of give commemoration to a woman of her stature and her contribution. If you didn't know, she was 83 years old. And she came here. She came, she saw, and she conquered. She went through so much to get to a position where she's absolutely undeniable and absolutely unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, Tina Turner has left the building. And while we're doing that, as always on a Thursday, we can always identify in our papers that's a little bit more thicker. Talk to me. It's a little bit more thick, and we can be able to identify these things and look at it and say, wow, the mortality of our life is a serious thing. I always want to be able to do that. I always want to take this time out to acknowledge those persons who've passed away. In the obituary section of the paper, you can be able to see that, kind of just peruse through it. And during this time, if you're one of those persons who's dealing with a transition in your family, a transition of a loved one, you're trying to prepare for something, and you even want to get a plot or do all these particular things, make sure that you go down there and check out my good friends out over at Butler's Funeral Homes and Crematorium. They are the absolute best in the business. They know about being able to hold steadfast to the legacy that your life exuded and be able to give you that sort of that sending off that depicts the life that you lived here on this side. I want to thank you so much. I don't know whether or not y'all can get Tina Turner down there, but I know you guys do an absolutely wonderful job. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show set up for you today. I can be decent and take my very, very first commercial break out of this before we do in the done. In the studio with me, we have John Canoe II, right here, to be able to talk about African Liberation Day here on May 25th, talk about the ideas and concepts, and really be able to talk about the empowerment thereof. But let me take this commercial break and be right back. Play some of that Tina Turner, and then we're going to come back and be chop it down with this. 96.9 FM radio, guys. You're going to be right back after this.
Ready to step into the future? From your front door to the backyard and everywhere in between. See and speak to whoever's there with Ring Video doorbells and security cameras now available at Alive. Protect what matters most, all from one easy app. Available in your Google or Apple Play Store. Visit bealive.com/ring to learn more. We are alive.
Guardian Radio and the Foundation are on the move.
Bahamas, this one's for you.
SBT, Small Business Thursdays. Every Thursday, the Foundation with Howard Grant will highlight small businesses throughout the country, far and wide. Your products, services, prices, and personality. We want to hear it all. Get your 30 or 60-second advertisement heard on air at a fraction of the cost. We here at the Foundation understand the times and don't want you to be left behind. With Guardian Radio, you reach your specific demographic and it is unmatched.
We reach thousands daily.
Get your products off the shelf and your services in their hearts. Small Business Thursdays with the Foundation, only on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. For more information, call 302-2300 or the Help Me Howard line at 827-0111. SBT. Small Business Thursdays. Get your business moving today.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
You must understand the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. Oh, what's love?
What's love got to do with it? 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant of your company, the Foundation, on this beautiful Thursday, Small Business Thursday, chopping it down with the absolute best in the business. John Canoe II, Chris Davis is in the house with me, being able to talk great beautiful things. My brother, it is so wonderful to see you again. When you walk in the building, they say, "Oh my God, you got a job here now." They need to stop it, because I think we need to be more educated about this. We need to be more educated about what's happening now, and I wanted to talk about it. I'm grateful that you're actually talking about this. Tell us a little bit about African Liberation Day, for all those persons who know that we're identifying this particular day, May 25th, as African Liberation Day, all from 1963.
Yeah, 1963.
From 1963. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so this would be the, how is my math on this one? I think, what, the 60th anniversary of that day. And it's arguably the greatest coming together of African nations, African minds in our modern history. And this was 5 years or so after the independence of Ghana, right, which was the first independent African nation. And then by that time, actually, I'd say more than half of the African nations had just gotten their independence by that time. This was after the assassination of unsung African heroes like Patrice Lumumba from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is very much attached to the Bahamas. You know, we get Congo Town, Fox Hill, Congo Town, South Andres, but that's for another show. But essentially, his country was balkanized through his attempts to regain control of the natural resources of the Congo. And this is what dealt the final blows and even set the modern precedents for what we see now with the rape and pillaging of all of the natural resources coming out of Africa. And this is a problem that all African nations suffer. And by African nations, we also mean nations in the Caribbean and in the northern part of South America, where we don't control or have control of our natural resources. And this is very much tied into the history of slavery, colonization, and modern-day imperialism and neocolonialism as well. And so African Liberation Day was actually called by Haile Selassie I, the first, and it was held in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, May 25th, 1963. And it was about 30 countries from the African continent. And out of this came the Organization of African Unity, which is now known today, changed in about, I believe it's 2002, if I'm not mistaken, to the African Union. And of course, you now know that there's a great push to greatly expound on this African Union. And I even take it a step further. So not only do I say that Caribbean nations should be members of the African Union, in tandem with it being steered again in the right direction, I should add, but I also believe that African descended, less for lack of use of a better term, subcultures and subgroups within other nations should look to attain a sense of autonomy away from the nations of which they are in terms of forming an African nation. So, for example, black people in North America, in the United States and Canada, should come together and say, okay, well, we join in the African nation, as you get what I saying, the Negritos, as they call them, who living in the Philippines and Indonesia, same thing with them. Yeah, y'all come on board. We'll even take on the Aboriginals because they were all lumped into this social Darwinist concept of black being inferior that is very much tied into the correlation that we see of black lack of economic empowerment and disenfranchisement.
I want to talk to you about this because I'm listening to you and I realize that maybe our that kind of juju run deep within us, right? This idea that because the United States of America, there is still a significant push within those communities, whether you're talking about the Black Panther Party, whether you talk about way back, these civil rights activists, they continue to be able to beat down against the the structures that be, right. the imperial structures that exist within the space of America, United States of America, and say, essentially, we still want our 40 acres and a mule.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. The conversation that happens within the Caribbean, and I think we as a people clump together, and maybe minus Jamaica, right? But we as a Caribbean community clump together. We're identified as good Negroes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we have always looked towards the crown or looked towards the imperial majesty to an opportunity to be able to get true liberation and rejected the idea of being able to go back to our motherland. Right. Where we came from, and find and forge the relationships necessary to be able to strengthen our position from an economic standpoint more specifically. When we start to talk about entrepreneurialism in this day and age, when we start to talk about how I can get a house and having to be able to go to one of the Canadian banks or an opportunity to be able to empower ourselves in that perspective, there aren't any black institutions that afford us opportunity. Most of the conversations that we have locally are conversations that always glorify the penny saving bank. You remember the penny? They would talk about this stuff, right? The penny saving bank was able to do this, and with the introduction of independence in our jurisdiction, with the introduction of independence. And liberty and opportunities and so forth and so on came the banks, came all these opportunities, and it shifted sort of the camaraderie, that kind of that bonding agent that pulled the community together. So when you start to talk about even all the nations in the Caribbean doing this, or even the subgroups in America taking on this position to be able to talk about that, do you really believe anything like that would ever happen unless and until there is true liberation? 60 years of celebration right now. 60 years of celebration, and it wasn't, I want to tell you 35 years ago, no, 40. It wasn't 45 years ago that Bob Marley would have been able to talk about the shackles on our minds.
Most definitely.
You understand? Mm-hmm. And this would have been, let's say, 15, less than 20 years displaced from that initial, that meeting of coming together of the minds.
Right.
So talk to me about it. Is there any real expectations as we spill into a century of identifying this African liberty and liberty? Right. Is there any indication, any inkling to say that there's a possibility that we can find true unity in due time and due season? Talk to me about it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And just to comment on some of those comments you made, those were some astute observations, right? And this is why it's so important for us to actually understand our history and actually understand what happened. So to comment on institutions like Penny Savings Bank, even Bodie's Bank, right? And this is where our history can be paralleled with the history of African Americans in the United States as well. Whereas we should have been going for desegregation, but we went for integration, right? And because of all of the strength and the unfortunate success of white supremacy, coupled in with centuries of being in acute survival mode, right? So to take it away from the Bahamas and make a parallel, you had bus companies in North Carolina, the great Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, black economist, speaks about this. His family was actually involved in this. And the suffering was so acute, coupled with the notion of white supremacy, everything that's whiter is better. Added to their increased capital. So you had all these black bus companies, and the bus is a little rickety. And of course, the white bus company is a little nicer. You could parallel that to certain tour companies over here, but we ain't get into that because I know where we is right now, right?
You
But
stop.
anyway, let me
Let's go.
stop.
Let's
Yeah,
go,
okay.
right?
Let's get back on point, right? Yeah, we know what. Who those who know. Anyway, so so now you have the situation where okay, integration happened, and you know what the blacks in North Carolina did for the most part? They flocked to these buses. For all this time, they telling you, oh, you know, you black, you can't ride this bus, the bus with the AC, this whites only and all that. And then all this time, you've been having the worst of the worst, that if the government even checking, or whoever's supposed to be checking, even checking, but we know the situation that they were in. Constant lynchings, the fear, the terrorism that African Americans still suffer from to this day, right? And then make that parallel to here. So you had certain banks from a certain place up north would been here from that time, the 1910s, right? And this is what I have a problem with too for us as African people globally. You will have an institution that have been racist for 100 years, and then they put one black woman in some executive board position. It's like we give them a pass.
No, because it feels like success.
Ah,
it feels like we broke the bar. It
right.
feels like we were able to push past the membrane.
And this is the mess, and this is what we have to realize as African
But that's the
people.
social conditioning that we exist in.
Thank you. And that social conditioning that has been going on for hundreds of years. And our ancestors who lived in that acute survival mode, we still in survival mode now, but it's not as acute as it was back then. Meaning, you know, me and you could talk off here a little bit about this one and that one, and we ain't got to worry about no lynch mob coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if the wrong person he would say the wrong thing to me or you, they could be in big problems.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So of course that dynamic has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we do not realize what happened. And integration, and even Martin Luther King said as much. You know, notice if you study his life, towards the end of his life, he started to transition away from this turn the other cheek. And you know what else is so interesting, and this is something that we definitely need to
That's
do.
what him and Malcolm had that was the divide,
Right.
That was the issue.
Right, but they came together in the end.
Eventually.
Right.
Eventually.
Now, but this is what is so fascinating about those two. Just to digress for a minute. Malcolm X was a Muslim religious leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Martin Luther King was a Christian pastor, right?
You said you gotta say Christian like this. You gotta
I do. I sure all do and all do.
Yeah,
right. But at the end of the day, you seldom hear them talking about their religious belief in their speeches, do you? Their speeches are all about politics. So Malcolm X might big up Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the group that he was a part of for most of his political career. But at the end of the day, he is not imposing, you understand? And that is actually a very Eurocentric vestige of colonization that is, in my opinion, very un-African. So even when you look at our greatest civilizations, the Kingdom of Mali, they were highly diverse, and religious expression was something that they embraced, regardless of your own personal belief, you see?
But they wasn't fighting for liberalization.
Right.
During this particular time.
Exactly. And so that acute survival mode.
That acute survival mode. After you've been captured, after you've been in this, though you have, and this is, this is one of my beliefs. Guys, this is going to be a good show today. You might as well just calm down, right? When you get yourself in this kind of position, right? This is my belief. And I like this show because I know I could get a little taste spiritual with you sometimes. There is a mantle. There is something that has been released on you. This is my belief. This is my belief. My belief is that this journey had things waiting on us, right? If you ever play Mario Brothers and you jump on the thing, that the coins were always there.
Right.
You understand? They didn't just show up because you were there. They were waiting on you to find the path to grab it. So there are some predispositions that you have to be able to. You find yourself in this. This is what I feel. I feel this kind of a transition for you to go to Africa and Ghana had already happened. This is how I feel about life. This was already done.
Yeah.
All this was time waiting for you to mature to step into this particular space. This is how Howard believes. Now, if this mantle of this political astuteness, even while, let's take Malcolm, even while Malcolm was in jail, perm in his hair, we watched the movies, right? Even when he was perm in his hair in jail and doing his thing, stealing, so forth and so on, this was something that lived in him.
Right.
And sometimes that's why they call it a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
When you get captured and now you have to do some introspection.
Right.
That introspection led to the sort of movement that liberated the minds of a
Right.
great deal of black people.
Right.
But my belief is that the liberation didn't go far enough, and I believe that's why I felt an injustice when Malcolm was snuffed away from us. Those persons who took him from us, right? And I say us, I mean the collective black community.
Exactly, right.
Those persons who took him away from us knew what they were doing. We didn't know what they was doing.
Right.
We were naive. Remember, we can't even read no books.
Right. Well, let's not forget to be truthful. I would actually go out on a limb and say that up until his assassination, most blacks didn't even support Malcolm X. Again, religion came into it and all of these things, but now we could look back in hindsight and comparing the major two in terms of MLK and Malcolm X. And when we look back in hindsight, despite our personal beliefs today, you know, and all of these things, we could still say, well, Malcolm X's message was actually...
It still resonates.
It still resonates.
Right.
And does MLK's message still resonate?
I think it does.
But not for me, not as much, because I feel like in hindsight, you know, we've seen that change.
But that's the fractions of our society.
Right.
Our society is divided. When I say the black society, the black community, the black diaspora, right, is divided in between those of us who want to be able to bear arms and fight for what is ours. This kind of a turn the cheek thing is not for us. And there's others who's still part of the community who says, rest assured, once we remain consistent, once we remain civil in our obedience, so forth and so on, we can still get to this position.
Yeah.
So I believe both messages still resonate within our collective communities.
Right.
But I want to say this because I'm thinking, right, and I'm while we're talking about black liberation today, I'm really thinking, as I sit here and I think about this, guys, you'll know I like this. I tell you, I read this stuff, I ingest this stuff, all my music, I listen to Stokewarians. This is what I do, right? This is just for long. That's why I always look forward to sitting with you, right? When we find ourselves in this position, the CIA, all the information came out and they identified the leadership in our community. Took them away from us too quick. Introduced cocaine into our communities, introduced crack cocaine into communities, and infiltrated the music industry and identified same thing that happened in Nazi Germany, right? The same propaganda that actually was spilled out on a day-to-day, if you read those stories. Day-to-day, every day, they continue to be able to push information that you ingested every day, which was propaganda about this concept and idea. It's the exact same thing that is happening right now. This is to destroy us.
Yep.
And it hasn't stopped.
Exactly. And that's
we find no other Malcolm.
Right.
We were left with Jesse Jackson. Not in the bad way. Not in the bad way.
Yeah,
We've left with Al Sharpton.
Right.
What are we doing here?
That is why, for me, and I hate to make these sweeping generalizations, but generally speaking, what do Jesse and Al Sharpton represent? Which faction? If you had to Malcolm
Tom.
or
Uncle Tom, this is what I would say.
Right, you see? And so this is why I say that the perceived message of MLK, I should say, because his message for me has been skewed, you know? The perceived message does not resonate. It still resonates today, but I think that, I wouldn't say that both don't resonate, but I think that Malcolm's message of autonomy, love of self, removal from these same institutions, like you say, it's still happening. You know, so if you could think of the African diaspora as a human body, you know, it's like for all these centuries, they had their foot on our neck with the gun to our head. And it's like now they're reloading the gun, so the gun into our head, but the foot's still on, you understand? And that is a part of the problem. In order for us to, you can't unify if you don't know what you're unifying against.
I'm confused about it. You know why? Because even now, if you look at it economically,
right?
If we look at it right now, today, economically, Adidas is in absolute shambles financially right now because they're severing the ties with Kanye West. They had stock that they didn't know what the hell to do with, right? Because of the mass consumption of one black Negro man.
Yeah.
They had to now reaffirm the relationship and get rid of this stock. And we as a collective don't understand yet the value that we carry. Right. Listen, if you look at the population size of black Americans in America of less than 400 million people, they are mass consumers.
Most definitely.
Mass consumers. And none of this is directed towards black purchases, black opportunities,
Most
black
definitely.
empowerment. Why?
Right.
Is the proverbial black crab barrel this big?
We celebrate spending our dollars, and we celebrate integration. See we offer what is integration, i.e., insert black person here gets selected to be the CEO of some company that's been racist for the last 100 years anyway. We celebrate it because freedom for us has now become acceptance into Western society in tandem with conformity to every economic standard in terms of economics, right? And so when we look at the way that we function, so let's talk about our spending power that you even mentioned, the power that we have, right? Let's touch on a controversial topic. Let's talk about cosmetics and weave and the like, right? This is something
beauty industry. The beauty industry.
The beauty industry.
Okay, good.
So this was something that was actually founded and perfected by a black woman named Madam C.J. Walker. She is.
I watched the whole documentary.
Right. So it
was bananas.
They just brought it out, and
guys, check that out.
Yeah, it's actually quite powerful. Some real strong black woman stuff. Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I didn't expect to enjoy it.
I really did.
And I enjoyed it.
I can watch it again.
But I did not enjoy Cleopatra. But that's for another day.
Really?
No, I did not enjoy it.
I didn't even start watching it yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
I thought it was really tacky, and I hate how Hollywood, get a historian, a real, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get into all that. But Jada Pinkett was not the one to do it. It was quite tacky.
I didn't even watch it.
And it was,
okay, cool. I gotta watch it.
And it was historically inaccurate, but we don't need to get into all that. But essentially, though, we still now, this is a multi-billion-dollar global industry, the beauty industry, catered towards black women. Yet, who makes all of the money from this? So, of course, we know that even here in the Bahamas, we have some black women who own some beauty spots that make good money, and they are well-known tycoons because of it.
That's very modest.
But
you're very modest by saying good money.
Right, yeah, right.
I can be honest with you.
They making great money.
During Christmas time, I got to spend $400 or $500, and the thing ain't even on yet. You know what I'm saying? It ain't even on yet.
Yeah, right. So y'all get where I'm coming from, right? So, but where does that money go? We don't really think about these things. Let's look at our entertainment industry. How many rappers do you have? This is how much we worship. And we don't understand economics, and we worship materialism, and we worship, this big marketing scheme that they have on us. So let's look at our rappers and all that. How many rappers we have named after white men who are fashion designers? Gucci, there's Fendi, that.
That's who they
and the list goes on. Exactly. You see, and so we haven't even realized that, and it's
Is it an out of sight, out of mind?
I believe it is the same mentality that caused us to leave Penny Savings Bank and go to the bank that I ain't gonna mention, but the one from up north, and that's the same mentality. You understand what I'm saying? And it continues, and I would say that it's actually stronger now. Because back then, that unity, Penny Savings Bank was thriving because your black self couldn't go to the other bank.
I like this.
You understand what I'm saying?
So you see, the reason why I believe so many of us thrive in desperate times is that's the only time that we revive the unity within our community.
Thank you very much.
So we got to get down to our nothing.
You had what you call barrier societies, friendly societies. You had the African Lodge, before it was the Prince Hall Lodge. And the Prince Hall Lodge, them beg and beg and beg until the white people accept them. That's why I ain't joined, but hey, who won't come with me on that? They can come with me on that, I guess. But that's the reality. You see, and again, we do not understand, and this includes me, as much as I might study and as much as I make a concerted effort daily to be more African and to do these things, everyone is affected by colonization, and it affects all of us, and it is at the crux of all of our problems.
We got a lot of work to do, though.
Most definitely.
We got a lot of work to do because wrapped in this sort of an idea of suppression is peppered with the conditioning of superstition. I get somewhere with this. Mm-hmm. We know that we're suppressed. We know that there exist opportunities. We know that there's more in us. We know that we weren't birthed for nothing as black people. We're out here, like what Kanye say, and he look around and say, geez, these niggas not much better than me, right? And then he started to talk about his kind of pursuit. You watch Yeezy, watch the documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
He started to talk about this pursuit and talk about his determination to get to this particular position, because he knew that there's something that was deeper in his mind. But we, as black people, are still afraid to reconnect with the motherland because of the conditioning
Most
of
definitely.
the first world, this Anglophilia.
Yeah, Anglophilia.
Right,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Anglophilia, right? This first world idea that says this is Obeah, this goes against God, this goes
Yep.
against these particular things. So we wrestle with being able to forge relationships because it's done so with this sort of skepticism, right? We wrestle with that. And so we find ourselves discontent, disenchanted, confused, and inebriated. We got to drink something. We got to find something to be able to suppress this because this kind of an idea that exists in us,
Right.
it's too loud.
Oh, yeah.
How are we going to fix this? Talk to me.
See,
about
it's
it.
about, again, and I might be singing the same song here, but you have to delve into your culture and your history. So you mentioned the word, and this is something that I've been studying for more than a decade now. This word in the Bahamas, this very, I wouldn't even call it divisive because most people just say it bad. Divisive meaning it dividing people. Most people, so Obeah, in my theory, actually comes from the word obey. And you had all of these Europeans who would see what we were doing. But so I would say that Obeah should have two definitions. One is the African definition, which is customs, norms, and that even includes spiritual beliefs that come from Africa.
Tradition.
Right. So from a religious standpoint, you should look at these things coming from Africa as you look at Buddhism or Hinduism in India or China. So if you type in some of these videos on YouTube, you can see some Hindu fellas doing things that they say are more stigmatized in terms of their ritual
And
than you
Buddhist.
would see. Oh yeah, and Buddhists, right?
Yeah.
So they
I watched one the other day, the guy-
stretching they member down to the line. Right.
No, I watched
right.
one guy the
You
other
see?
day when you get to the, let's call
Right.
it the 33rd degree. When you get to this highest degree,
Right.
now you see what I did,
Right.
right? When you get to the highest degree of Buddhism, there's an opportunity for you to be able to enter a box, I think, for 23 days. They just put one hole in that.
Right.
And you have to suppress your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your this, your that, and next thing, and all these things like that. And even if you die, to die in this box is the success.
Right.
Because this is the ascension that you have. This is crazy stuff,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is bananas.
Yeah.
Right? And so we don't see that, right?
Yep.
We don't see that. And a lot of the persons who are doing hot yoga and all these things like that, they never take these things into consideration. They see
Right.
this in
Exactly.
one light.
Right. But see, that is because, and this is where you see the double standard. So yoga and all these things, they are just some of them religious, spiritual, customary practices from different places aside from Africa, right? But then we have this thing that we call Obeah. So why is it that we don't have the same fear for Hindu? Why could somebody come from China or India and say they are Hindu or Buddhist?
And you
Where
accept it.
And then you just accept it and there's no fear. There's no sense of innate evil. Yet, these people from West Africa who get raped, who get enslaved, who got all the most horrible things to happen to them, genocides that came after the transatlantic slave trade, all throughout Africa, especially in West Africa, right? How is it that they the bad guys? You understand? And so this is where we have to deal with that. And then the second definition of Obeah comes from the white man. And this is the real definition of Obeah in the Western society. It is any African custom, whether religious, spiritual, even economic. They see accounting. We had counting techniques that Yoruba used to use, and even games like Wari would be classified as Obeah. You mixing bush medicine to give to your child because he's sick, that's Obeah. Anything the white man saw, things that I see in the Baptist church.
Contrary to their
this,
customs.
Thank you very much. Contrary to their customs. And so the word Obeah comes from obeyer. All throughout St. Kitts.
Contrary to the colonizer.
Right then, you see? And so the obeyer man became the Obeah man. Now there's also a link possibly to the Yoruba people who also have a very strong presence. I would say if you had to pick one group, Yoruba would probably be the strongest presence by numbers in the Bahamas, right? Or by DNA even in the Bahamas. But they have terms like Obi, right? Which means like king. And so it might be the practice of the king of that and washed in with this racism. But these are things we have to understand. One thing that was common in the world were things called human zoos, right? social Darwinism. You had Harvard professors, all of our favorite Ivy League institutions. Their professors were going around and telling people that there's a greater difference between a black man and a white man than there is between a black man and an orangutan or a chimpanzee. This was considered scientific fact up until about the 1930s and 40s.
And it's the same scientist that said,
you understand?
God come from the Big Bang. This is confusing to me.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Well, see, that's the interesting thing, because they did find something with their little evolution theory, but then it turned around and slapped them right in their face. So they started to say the people with the biggest brain in proportion to their body is, is the smartest in the world. Mm-hmm. And then they saw the Khoisan people with the big oakum in the back.
Yes,
They get the biggest brains. Yes. The ones you all try say is the most primitive have the biggest brains. So, of course, they had to change that theory. There's many things. Then they started to talk about who survives the best in nature. Then they started putting white people and black people out in the sun to see who could survive the longest. All sorts of things, man. It's actually, I like to bring humor to it to try to, lessen the sting. And of course, it's that old adage, if you don't laugh, you will cry. But believe it or not, all of these things go into reasons where even subconsciously we do not want to reconnect to Africa. Yet, 60% of all arable land is in Africa to date in the world. So that's just food. We ain't even talking about the other things. You understand? Mm-hmm. How is it that when something happens, so let's say, God forbid, some natural disaster happens in Greece. You understand? The Greek Orthodox Church right there on West Hill Street, they can have a big service. And all the Greeks can come there and they can cry and they can pray for their people.
Yeah.
I need to talk about our neighbors to the south. I think that can take us in another direction. But let's talk about back home in Africa. Mm-hmm. Something happened over there, and it's just so normalized.
Not in my business.
Thank you. It ain't your business, and it's so normalized.
You ain't got to do that. You ain't got to listen. You ain't got to go as far as Africa.
That's what I trying to tell you. We go right down
Kwaku Street.
Thank you very much.
My business is your business.
All right then. You understand? And then we have this very dismissive thing. But again, it is because, but when you understand our history and what was actually done to us, you realize that, hey, this is not the fault of Africans globally, even though people like yourself, I always hear you frustrated on the radio because you may be able to see things differently than other people do, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we have to realize what's happening, what's going on. Like, you can't fix a problem if you don't know what it is. I have heard every excuse in the book for reasons why not to A, reconnect with your past, and B, look forward to Africa in the future.
Yeah, but I haven't touched you on this, but I got
none of which are legitimate.
Let me take this telephone call because I want to touch Louis Farrakhan in his particular position that talked about being able to unite our position and come together as black people, coming down to the Caribbean to doing this. I don't know whether or not he's the superb candidate to do that.
Farrakhan?
Yeah, Farrakhan.
Well, you see, for me, this is where I make it clear that our issue as black people ain't like this. But this the facts.
Let me hear it.
Our issue is not spiritual. Mm-hmm. Our issue is not religious. Mm-hmm. Our issue is two things. Mm-hmm. Big time. And they're speaking practically in modern sense. Economic and political. Those are our two issues. Everything else need to be second fiddle when you dealing with black issues now in your personal life and in your circle. So for me, Louis Farrakhan, as much as I respect the man, love the man, agree with 99% of what he says, at the same time, for me, when you in that religious space, automatically you kind of it kind of adds indirectly that divide and conquer concept for me, because the issue is political for me. You understand? Now, this is where we talk about how this unity again, right? So, and this is where I might get a little bit of stick on my phone.
I got to go to a break, right?
But I know, that's one point. But back in the day, our pastors, our black pastors along Meekin Street and all these things, they used to provide refuge for runaway slaves from the United States. And they founded things that we used to call friendly societies, where when you give in your, what they call it, collection, you're putting your thing in the collection plate, and Auntie Susie, needs some money to go send her child this way because they get an opportunity, they need to go to school or whatever. That money, they come there and they go to the church and they get that. Ubuntu. This is what we need to get back to. This is a Swahili term. It's also a term in Ghana. It's also a term in the Bahamas. You know what it means? Hand come, hand go. That's what it means.
That's a Esu.
Esu, right. Hand come, hand go. This is a term all over Africa that is used from east, west, north, south in varying degrees. There's even in the Khan alphabet, the people where Jonkanu come from, where they have a symbol that's actually quite beautiful that means hand come, hand go. In that exact way.
That's the concept of currency.
Right.
It goes, comes, goes, comes.
Exactly. And it's the concept of making, let's talk in
that's
the
just the rhythm of life.
Making sure people straight, man. And the problem is, too, we live in this ultra-capitalist society.
Yeah.
And this so-called honor-based Westminster system. Mm-hmm. You understand? And so, with all of that, we don't even understand how it works. So for me, if you choose to be a capitalist society, let's say, and one thing I don't typically do is compare black nations like the Bahamas to these white nations in Europe that don't have the same issues and problems in history that we do.
They don't.
Right. So it's typically taken out of context. However, I will make a comparison with Canada right now, where they have kind of been one of the first to introduce this modern version, I should say, because the Kingdom of Songhai in Africa had these systems implemented long time ago, where they have the tax bracket. So if you're making plenty money, you got to give plenty money back. And this is how you have free healthcare, education, and all these things in some of these places.
But plenty money, if you make it, always coming back.
Right.
That's just a hand come, hand go concept. It have to come back.
Thank you.
It can come back.
And if everyone eating food, you get less rubbish, right?
Oh my God.
Like, come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you. Who's my guest? It says, I'm listening, Howard. Who's the guest? The guest is none other than John Canoe II here, sitting in the studio with me. You know him as formerly as the artist formerly known as Chris Davis. He's here in the studio with me. He has a great book out. Make sure you pick up the book called Black Rinse. He's going to be with me for another 10, 15 minutes. On the other side, let me take this quick commercial break. Y'all can kill me. I see the phone light up, but we got to get the body shots today. Let's talk. This ain't a regular day. This Small Business Thursday, so I wanted to kind of get that out there. Right?
African liberation. We're
going to talk about that. We can give him a couple more minutes on the other side. Let's take a quick commercial break and be right back after this.
Yeah.
At Marco's Pizza, we never skip on quality or ingredients. Save some cash and satisfy your cravings with our new carry-out medium 2-topping pizza for only $12.50. That's right. Order 2 of your favorite toppings like sausage and green peppers on 1 medium pizza for only $12.50. VAT inclusive on our app or online. Made daily with fresh dough, our signature sauce, and fresh cheese. Only at Marco's Pizza. Restrictions apply.
The road to 50 Jubilee celebration continues with the 50th on Bay Street Festival. Bahamian culture comes alive on Monday, May 29th from 2 p.m. until. Come out, bring the whole family to enjoy live music, food, drinks, cooking demos by local celebrity chefs, art, crafts, a kiddies corner, and so much more. It's Bahamian culture at its finest. The 50th on Bay Street Festival, this Whit Monday, May 29th. Bring the whole family. Admissions free.
Need a new appliance, building a new home, or renovating, or just spring cleaning? Bundle and save, or make it a combo with BWF pre-inventory, warehouse clearance, and tent sale. Friday, May 26th through Saturday, May 27th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Save big on appliance combo specials, houseware supplies, bedding, curtains and bathroom supplies, kitchen and outdoor, cooking supplies, barbecue grills, selected welding and hardware supplies, generators and pressure washers, automotive supplies and accessories, and a whole lot more. Don't miss it. BWF. We're more than just our name. Number 13 Wilton Street. Call 394-000-4-6. Check us out on Facebook. We also ship to the Family Islands.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Oh yeah. Speak the truth, not care if them like it. Righteousness, them not go fight it. Alice Selassie on the sidekick. Impress me in and no side chick. Not interested in them campaign. Not impressed, not care the last name. Empty words, not take for gas pain. So when the kingdom rise up black, I speak my mind. I fear no evil. I take my time. I help my people. I stand my ground. I will not crumble. I keep my...
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company. We're celebrating today on Small Business Thursday. Celebrating, identifying, commemorating, being able to talk about the future and the path for Black
Liberation Day, Africa Day. There's several
Africa
different
Day,
meanings, but
right?
yeah.
I'm in the studio with none other than John Canute II, formerly known as Chris Davis here, really being able to chop this stuff down. And I see some phone lines. Let me take this right off the gate. Calling on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call.
I appreciate you. Yes, sir. You're live with us. Go ahead.
Man, listen, man, this is a blessing. I would love an opportunity to just sit down and just listen to this fine gentleman talk about African history, integration versus the segregation. I mean, we seem to really be mixed up. And I am trying to link this to something that I've been taught in my Rosicrucian classes relating to a Lucifer experiment. Here's what I'm talking about. There was Job, and there was also what we call God, and they sort of have this discussion. God and Lucifer had a discussion as to how we could test this man to see if we can break him.
Right.
And I'm wondering is what's going on here now on this planet is a similar experiment where Lucifer seemed to be getting the upper hand as Job was able to prove that he's stronger.
Right.
And I'm wondering if this seemed to be something that was designed in what you call heaven, because, you know, any place above ground, in my opinion, is heaven. And now it's being sent down on earth, and the black people are suffering because we instead of, you know, just separate ourselves and be us, we want to become part of those people who oppress us. Correct, sir?
Yes, sir. You are 100% correct. I share that opinion.
Howard, just give me one more second.
Yes, sir.
Here's a story that was told to me by one of my fathers. When there was slavery to be abolished, you know, the people in Fox Hill got the news late. In fact, they still don't know they're free, thanks to their representative. But what happened was the British said to the Canadians, said, we want to continue to keep these people enslaved. We want to, you had your foot, your neck, and everything on them. We want to suck some of them too. But the British said, no, all over the world, freedom is being granted. But here's what we could do for you, Canada. We could give you the banks, so you could go see them through the banks. Wow. So it appears as though slavery has been more entrenched through the banking system, and we don't even realize it, because look, every day you got another fee tacked on. So you're just being dwindled away. My friend, Doctor, whatever you're, John Canoe, your other name, I would really love to meet you.
Yes.
Give me a number, please.
Yeah, I'll put it out there. And you could also get my book too. So a lot of what I'm talking about is in my book, 456-1787 or 434-1135.
And the book?
The book is called Black Rinse. You can get it at Chapter 1 bookstore at the university.
The last word, Black Rinse?
Black Rinse, yes. So we have whitewashed history, and I called my book Black Rinse, yeah, as in rinsing out clothes.
I love you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I love to respond to some of the comments you make, as you actually just had me segue right into a comment I was going to make about the relationship between capitalism.
Thank you for your call, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
I do appreciate you.
About capitalism and slavery, right? So you have Eric Williams, first Prime Minister of Trinidad, and this is what he got his pretty much doctorate surrounding the link between capitalism and slavery. And I can tell you that the modern banking system globally is inextricably linked in its foundation to the transatlantic slave trade. The first millionaires in almost every Western nation were slave traders and plantation owners in the Caribbean. And to bring it a little closer to home, as I skirt around naming names and all of these different things that we have to do. But I will tell you this, that those, many of the banks that exist here throughout the Caribbean that come from our Commonwealth neighbors to the north, they have their roots and are connected to the Halifax Banking Company. I lay a lot of this out in my book. And when we complain about the fees and even the things that they have said over the years, I'm not that old, but I'm not that young, and I can distinctly remember them. I'm in the nicest way, calling Bahamian stupid, uneducated, all of these things.
Tell me what you did there.
Yeah, you know. And so
It's
that's
documented information.
Oh, yeah. And so this, we can get into some.
If not specifically, definitely implied.
Oh, but I can call a certain man name right now. Enos Collins, right? ENOS. Collins. This is a man that made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of slavery, even though he only owned a handful of slaves. He tried to get involved in the intra-American slave trade. Made one voyage from Charleston to the island of Exuma. Couldn't stomach it, and he's like, "Man, I gotta find another way to exploit these black people." And to this day, he is actually one of the major reasons why ackee and codfish is the national dish of Jamaica. Because what he did was caught all of these cod, Atlantic cod, formed this massive company, and that cod that he was able to sell for little and nothing down to the Caribbean is what fed. So how many Caribbean nations get saltfish and codfish as their national dish, right? So, and this man is the major sponsor and founder of the Halifax Banking Company. And I could call the names of the banks, but y'all just check it out. I lay it out in my book, but I'm going to be getting too live on the radio.
He's a decent man, praise God. Let me take the next telephone call. Calling on the line with us live, go ahead.
Godly days is stuck in the voice along with you and your guest,
Yes,
Howard.
Good afternoon, my brother. What's up?
Howard, I listen to this conversation, right? No disrespect, right? But I said to myself, this sort of superficial because you were hearing of this situation from that time, and I'm a senior. But what I really want to hear about, or what I really want to understand, and I can give you the reason why. What I really want to understand, what do we have, or black people have, tangible? Now, I am not against anybody, right? But what do black people have tangible or know of that you can put your hand on in which the Africans way back then, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, established that we Africans can build upon? You see, because the thing is, don't care, we are segregated now. If we were to get together, we still want the other people gun to kill up each other.
Yeah.
We still want the knives to stab up each other. There are no.
Okay, let me just do this.
Can
just 2
right
seconds.
after you, my brother Howard.
For you to be able to talk about whether you'd use, and I got to let you go because I got some more people on the line. I'm hoping you're listening. For you to be able to talk about the first example of the gun, which uses what you need to build this here. You need metal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you talk about the cars, if you talk about any of these things, we find their core elements in Africa. Africa is being raped and robbed every day.
Every day. The mics we using right now have
every single day.
Your cell phone.
So to ask a question like, what do we have?
Right.
And then you talk about the superficiality of a conversation that existed, and we continue to be able to hear about it. You've heard about the Bible all this time.
Right. Yeah.
I don't understand.
I was actually going to take it there. So because I think what he was trying to say was, what tangible have we contributed that we could hold on to, right? And so even with all of the whitewashing and all the King James, them changing up all the words and bringing you this and all of that, what do we say at the end of our prayers? We're not we per se, but what do Christians and others say at the end of their prayer?
Amen.
Amen. Where did that come from?
Is that found in
the first Christians were in Ethiopia. You have a long line of queens, by the way, where when the Holy Trinity was not no Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it was Father, Son, and Mother. You show me somewhere in nature where Holy Spirit. Anyway, I'm going to get into all that. But you say amen at the end of your prayers because amen was one of the first names for God that came out of Africa, which was stolen by contemporary Christians and made this to this day. So when we say amen, or any variation at the end of your prayer, be careful because you're talking about African God. You might be doing Obi.
Who's Baba, right? Church Island people is called the oldest son, Baba.
Oh, well, the oldest son, Baba. Baba
My daddy's
has
called me Baba.
numerous meanings.
Listen,
like
my daddy's called me Baba.
Right. So Baba is a name that has numerous meanings across Africa. In the context of how we use it, typically it means two things: oldest son or granddaddy. So you have that old rhythm called Babatunde.
It's crazy.
Babatunde rhythm.
Right? I hear other people saying it, and I was like, "This how you Turks other people to say this."
But you heard that term.
But I heard it from Africans, and I said,
right, yeah,
"Hold on."
Babatunde. Tunde is return, Yoruba. Baba is grandfather or the father or the almighty father. It's just a term of endearment for a senior man. Baba.
All right, call
generally
Baba.
speaking. Right.
Baba Grant.
All right. Then.
Let me take it next telephone call. Go to Women Live with us now. Let's get on.
A pleasant good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
O Lord, thy God, is there no help for the widowed son?
You going a lot. You going deep today. You going deep today.
Hello, Howard. Good morning, Howard.
Go ahead. Good morning. Go ahead.
I talk to you sometime, Howard, and when you get into Christianity and your deliverance of it.
Sparky, you always just give me this preamble. You wasted the Constitution. Give me the point. Go ahead.
Why do you think they put a preamble there?
Give me the beat. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Man, look here. I want to ask you a question. What do you feel about the brainwashing they did with us with the King James Version of the Holy Bible?
Oh, boy.
I said the King James Version.
Yes, sir.
It's only his version.
Mm-hmm.
Until he saw in 1604, when he got the 47 Oxford scholars and Westminster and he got them together.
Yep. University of Edinburgh. Yep. From 5 or 6
It took
universities.
7 years till 1611 when the king decided the Bible was translated the way he wanted it to.
Right.
And when he was satisfied with the way they did it, to his satisfaction, he said, now spread it to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Make them believe in all of this, from Genesis to Revelation.
Yep.
I hear people say the Bible said this, and Jesus said that. There's no book in the Bible written by Jesus.
Nope.
All the books in the Bible, we don't know who wrote it because we only know who translated it.
Yep.
We don't even know the names of the men that translated it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say Moses wrote Genesis. Who knows who wrote Genesis?
Right.
You see how
yes,
deep
sir.
this
Yes,
goes?
sir. Oh, yeah.
And then when we talk about the white-black issue and the Bible, what they did to black people, when we talk about the coronation the other day,
Yep.
what establishments do black own on this earth? Banks, hotel chains, gas, oil factories, oil mines, and so forth.
Yep.
But what happened the other day with the coronation? When you saw the coronation going on, watch how they assembled the people in Westminster Abbey.
Oh, yeah.
All the white lords and people from around the world were seated first.
Mm-hmm.
And all their special seats, they were seated first. When it came to the black people, they called them the Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they came in last before the king.
Yep.
The Bahamas was still in the number they had in alphabetical order. You saw the Governor General and his wife come in. You saw our Prime Minister and his wife came in. And behind him, you saw the leader of the opposition come in. The Bahamian delegation came in third. But look what happened. With the coronation, everything was about the pomp and pageantry.
Mm-hmm.
The many soldiers and things, and guards and pretty horses and gold coaches and 2 gold coaches drenched with over $400 million worth of gold.
They stole.
Not only that, then this was this special crown, and the other crown for the king's wife. This was the whole ceremony. There's a portion in there where he went behind some walls, where between him and the Archbishop of Canterbury had to be completely private. Only them two going to go in there with the oil,
But Sparky,
anointing of the oil.
at the end of this, we still say, "Long live the king."
Not only that, but when they showed the gold coaches and everything, there is nothing in England that anybody ever knew that England possessed any oil, any diamonds, any ruby, any gold.
Right.
Everything in there was stolen from Mexico, from Brazil, from Peru,
Africa,
from
all
Africa.
over.
And
India.
they adorned them. They got one tower. The Tower of England, they say, that's where the royal jewels are stored.
Right.
The king inherited, the new king now, he inherited all the names of the queen. He inherited $280-something billion worth of finances. I said inherited. That's only cash. But then
you ain't talking about the land yet. You ain't talking about the real estate.
The crown land.
The crown land and
The crown land. Yeah, the crown land.
Sparky, you gotta call him to see if you can get your track road made down there by your farm.
Hold on, one
See if you
second.
call
Listen
him.
to what I'm saying. Plus, on top of that, look what he did. At the end of it, the princess, the devotion to his father, he came in front of his father, touched his crown, and he knelt down. And he swore to his father that I would serve you as my king and defend all and protect all your heirs and successors.
Yeah.
Now, who is the king heirs and successors? The prince, right?
Yeah.
So that means whatever the king owns, everything is coming down to him. It will always go down to that family.
Yeah.
The black people would never get back nothing that they stole. And at the end of the ceremony, they should have leave it Albany with the royal entourage. And guess what they had? Now they came up with 2 gold coaches.
Yeah.
The prince in one, and the king and his wife in the next one.
Oh, yeah,
the black man will never get nothing back.
Sparky, I gotta let you
Yeah,
go.
'cause-
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate
Yeah.
your telephone call.
Oh yeah, I
We
share
got a few minutes before we get to
some
go
of
to the
those
next segment.
sentiments, but I wouldn't say never. You know, this is where people like yourself, people like myself, those of us of full, partial, half, whatever African descent, we need to come together on this front. And as we close out in the last few minutes, both the last callers let me segue into the 2 points I wanted to make. I think that there's 2 fronts that we fight this battle on. One is not really even a battle to fight. One is just a realization, an epiphany that needs to happen. So I say it like this. We know that white supremacy and white economic superiority seems very much entrenched right now. It can be discouraging. But I say that it's on us on our own to do and take these little actions. So here's what I mean. We know that we get certain big food stores owned by a certain group of people, right? And they have the best prices because they could bring it in bulk, blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, let's say you was just to say, well, you know what? I can buy my milk and my bread from Auntie Susie's shop around the corner religiously. So I can go do my big shopping here if I have to, you know, because I know how it is. People paycheck to paycheck. It's easy to say, oh, but then the Chinese store get it for 3 times less than the other store, and you trying to help your brother. You get it, right.
Yeah.
So that's how capitalism, these things we have to realize. We have to get in this position where we spending money with each other. It's not about hating anybody else. It's about loving ourselves, as we say in the Bahamas. So when you go to any restaurant, let's say we go to one of the popular Greek restaurants, right, that we always go to, do you not see Greek Bahamians there in droves and supporting their businesses? You understand? But what you don't see is it going the other way around. Not to say that you don't have white Bahamians that shop with black Bahamians. I personally know a few that make a concerted effort to do that because they understand a little bit about what's going on in this world, right? However, at the end of the day, this is how the segregation, as both the last callers mentioned, even though the former was a little out there, right? Now, then the second front is
So the first one is make a deliberate effort to shop local.
To shop local, and I dare I say shop black.
Okay.
You understand? So not just local, but local and black. Because if you just shop local, you know, our brothers who live in our historic African communities, misnomered the over-the-hill communities, we know who in their communities selling things. And it ain't always people who selling you the right thing or have your best interest at heart. You understand?
I think shop local and shop black have to be implied significantly because shop black could be able to mean persons who are coming in from different jurisdictions.
Most definitely. I
That's
think
being decent.
and that's being very decent. But
Okay.
I could be a little less decent. But the problem is too that actually does apply more to the visitor, in my opinion, to the tourist, in my opinion, because we know that and these are some major issues right now going on with some of the Caribbean, with the cruise companies and all of these things, right? But we know that our tourist dollars don't trickle down. Like, we know these things.
Yeah.
There are actions that you can take personally to begin to curtail these things. If 10,000 Bahamians right now say, you know what, babe? I just buying my milk and my bread from this one shop round the corner, whom my brethren Annie own. You know, I know she, you know, that adds up. You know, you might be the one that keeping their light on a monthly basis. You never know, you know. And this is the concept of Ubuntu, and just one small aspect of it. Now, the other front that we have to fight on is a battle. This is where people like myself come in. This is where great scholars, got a shout out, Dr. Nyambi Campbell comes in. And this is where, first and foremost, as I see it, the people who have been leading the charge all this time, the House of Rastafari, the EABIC, the Nyabingi, all independent Rastas who've been, because don't forget now, they used to call Rasta crazy 30 years ago for talking what we talking about right now freely, and everybody respect it now, and it's a good idea now, and it's cool now, and then it's like Rasta getting pushed on the side, and we can't have that, you know. African Liberation Day in the Bahamas, as a matter of fact, only Rastafari celebrated consistently and for so long. And even when you see other institutions doing it, to shout out the African People's Socialist Party branch here in the Bahamas, headed by Alex Morley and others, you know, they also celebrated, right? And he's a Rasta himself. You understand what I'm saying? So that is another thing. And tonight I'm going to be there for those who want to meet me, talk to me. My book can be there at a discount. We're going to be at the Rasta Camp,
the Rasta Camp.
EABIC, commonly known as the Rasta Camp, and that's Fire Trail Road. So if you're heading east on Fire Trail before you bust that right curve to go towards Carmichael, just keep going straight, and you can't miss it. You can see all the flags, and I'm sure some cars will be there. And come and support Rasta. You know, and I could say that there's a lot going on that side now. Shout out to Honorable Priest Rittman, many others. You know, I guess shout out Rittman just because it's too much. Right, it's too much to shout out on that side. But shout out to every Rastafari on this day. You know, and even if nothing else, on this African Liberation Day, knowing that, hey, well, we have these fellas that we call Rastas and Empress them as well, and they've been fighting the struggle for us all of a sudden. You know, so today should be a day for us to celebrate these things, man. Celebrate.
What time does it start?
I believe they'll be out there from about 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, so you could pass by, you know, they can have their typical treats and health snacks and food stuff. I will be out there. Other scholars will be out there. We'll be reasoning and talking, just having a great time and celebrating our blackness, you know. And before I close with that point, we shouldn't never change it from majority rule. It should be black rule, right? And this is where we go wrong. It's like we water it down. It's black rule.
It seems offensive.
It's not offensive to who?
To others who we trying to impress.
You understand, but why?
This conversation get people.
Okay, yeah. But it's black rule. It's black rule, not majority rule. So,
ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for kind of tuning in for this, my brother. I thank you so much, John Canute II, Chris Davis here in the studio with me, being able to talk about this. It's been a great show. As a lot of people hit me up. This is how would you say? Ask your guests about these slave names that they have, and they wanted to drop my last name until I acquire my Al-Kabulani,
yeah.
Right?
Al-Kabulan being the original name of Africa. That is a learned person right there.
Okay, because I didn't know that. This is the first time I got to write this down and go check it out.
It's said many different ways, but Al-Kabulan is the original first known name for the continent of Africa.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have more conversations and being able to go into this and dive deeper. You're always welcome here, my brother.
Yeah.
We're grateful to have you.
Right.
I'm grateful to kind of be able to bring this to the community and talk about this. I think that it charges this kind of an idea to lead towards introspection. And I thank you so very kindly for being able to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be able to take this quick commercial break. And on the other side, we're going to talk a little bit of softball. We got some persons calling in. They're going to start something from Grand Bahama right here on 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company. We're going to be right back after this.
Well, the men come in these places, and the men are all the same. You don't look at their faces, and you don't ask their names. You don't think of them as human. You don't think of them at all. You keep your mind on the money, keeping your eyes on the wall. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money. You what you want me to do. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for.
Almost there.
Sarge, that's you.
Well, who else?
Tell the truth. I thought a beige walrus was dying on the sidewalk.
I'm preparing for my 4x100 meter debut.
More like 1 by 1, because the other 99 killing you.
Funny, the Bahamas games come in July 7th to July 15th, and Grand Bahama gotta win this.
Well, you know that.
Email info@thebahamasgames.org or call 322-1029 for more information.
Which island is gonna win?
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
There's a pale moon in the sky. Can you make your wishes on? Oh, like the light in your eyes, the one I built my dreams upon. It's not there any longer. Something happened somewhere and we both know why. But me, I'm getting stronger. We must stop pretending I can't live this life. I don't care who's wrong or right. I don't really wanna fight no more.
Ladies and gentlemen, live and in full effect, 96.9 FM radio, Howard Grant. Just a little small commemoration for I Continue to Win. Somebody say, Howard, did we do this for Ronnie Butler? Can you not remember? Do you want me to play Ronnie Butler every day? I mean, come on, guys. Let's just be decent. I try my hardest to be decent every day. The legendary, iconic Tina Turner has passed away yesterday, 83 years old. And she's did a great deal for us collectively as a community. And I wanted to kind of do that. I got somebody on the line with me. I'm being able to get in here today, and I want to thank you so very kindly for that. I got somebody on the line calling me all the way from Grand Bahama, really eager to do this. I got a couple calls the other night to talk to me about this kind of an idea of what existed and what needs to happen. And so I was grateful to give them opportunity to be able to talk about this. Let me see if I can read this flyer and tell you exactly what's going on before we can be able to bring them in. So it is the Paul Dingus Thompson Slow Pitch Softball Invitational Tournament from May 25th to the 28th, 2023 in Grand Bahama Sporting Complex at the softball field in Freeport, Grand Bahama. The organization that's putting it on is called Friends for Life. And they present this particular thing. If you want to be able to enter, get things going on there, it starts this evening in Grand Bahama, I think around 6 o'clock or whatnot. And I'm excited for this because, like I told you, I'm going to be going to Grand Bahama come June 5th to the 9th. So I'm excited to talk about sort of this idea of getting that kinetic energy to move the city and make something happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be able to introduce you to none other than Daphne Glinton. I think her last name is Glinton. Daphne Glinton, to be able to talk to us all the way from Grand Bahama. I should have her on the private line. Are you on, Daphne? She's on the private line. Go ahead. Hello? Daphne, you with us? You got the numbers. We're here. I'm going to hit you up on the text again. But I think it's important that we identify those things and really be able to have good conversations about where we are, where we're going, how things are happening and whatnot. And I'm very, very, very grateful. I see some lines are still lit up talking about that stuff. Can we check these and see if that's Daphne, please? The last name Daphne, first name Daphne. Make sure that's Daphne. I see the lines are lit up. I don't know whether or not this is the lines that's lit up from the former conversation. Make sure that's Daphne for me, please. So she's saying to me that, she said, we're here. Okay, so hopefully you can be able to get in and do those things. But some persons that the honoree is Alonzo Pratt, Brad Thompson, Yvette Lang, Larry Russell Sr., Jeff Albury. I know some of these people. I know Jeff. Jeff and I worked together in Grand Bahama. Lester Dorset, Earl Bow, Michael Lang, Durrell Thompson, Byron Johnson, John Ambrista, Terrence Bullard, Audrey Cambridge Williams, Penny Neely, Norman Pyfrom, Barbara Grant, Faye Smith, Eloise Lang, Shelley Mosley, and Martha Lang, Leslie Simmons, Sidney Thompson, Zadbona Cooper, and Lena Mae Farquharson, also with Barry Russell. Is she on with us just yet? Is he talking long? I want to do this. I know that she's calling me off from her cell phone. I know that they're extremely busy trying to be able to make sure everything is going tonight. So please bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, as we try to be able to give this sort of commemoration. Dingus actually passed away some time ago, but this is in commemoration of the idea of what they did starting on the softball field, St. Paul's softball field, and being able to do some things like that, right? So I'm always grateful for an opportunity to be able to kind of push that out there and make some things happen. We're definitely in here being able to wait on her and get those things done. So I'm grateful for that. I really am. Let me see if I can take one of these telephone calls. Calling on the line. Whilst we wait, go ahead. Calling on the line with us live, go ahead. No? That's her? Calling on the line with us live, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Daphne McKinney.
I'm so happy that you're in there. Sorry about that. I had like 58 calls on the line. Sorry about that. How you doing?
We're great. And we also have Darrell Ware. He's actually on the line as well, our president.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. President? All is well?
All is well, sir. How you doing?
Fantastic, man. I appreciate you calling in. As a Grand Bahama man, as a 8 Mile Rock man myself, so I'm grateful to give you guys an opportunity to be able to talk about this. So tell me about this ceremony. I've heard a lot from one of the honorees last year. I think last time, none other than Greg Gardner being able to talk to me about this. Tell me what you guys are going to be doing in Grand Bahama.
Well, basically, what we are doing, we are honoring slow pitch poison in the name of Paul Dingus Thompson. He died a few years back, I think in 2007. Mm-hmm. And initially we started a tournament in his honor, but it ran on, but due to the pandemic and some other unforeseen occurrences, it got stopped. But since we have formed a new organization called Friends for Life, we started fitting the honor to continue the legacy of Paul Thompson. And like you said, in the Easter weekend, we went down to Exuma where we honored Greg Gardner, a pioneer in softball in Exuma, who really put Prosperous softball on the map down there in Exuma. So we just trying our best to honor people and give them the just due for the contribution they made.
So what can we expect this evening? What time does it start?
Well, Daphne could give you all the logistics in terms of when the games get started and who all will be playing.
Okay, well, this weekend we have starting tonight, we do have 4 games starting from 7 p.m. all the way up to 10 p.m. And then on Friday, we have another 5 games starting at 6 p.m. And at 8 p.m., we're also going to have the official opening ceremonies. And then on Saturday, it's pretty much all day at the park. We start at 9 a.m. all the way up to 10 p.m. Mm-hmm. And then on Sunday morning, again, we start at 9 a.m. all the way up to 12. And we have 11 teams participating, and I'll name them. In our men's division, we do have Chad Investment Golden Knights, and we have Express Mart, and we do have Greg Gardner Construction, which is a team out of New Providence, and we're so grateful that we just honored Mr. Gardner during the Easter holiday weekend with a fast pitch tournament, so he saw it fit, to support us with this event and become one of the sponsors for the men's slow pitch division. We also have Marco City. We have Past Uniform Red. And we have a team from Eleuthera, which is called the South Eleuthera Stars. And we have a team from New Providence, which is called the Boys. And some of these guys would have played with Dingus and also been friends with Dingus for a very long time. So they saw it fit to join us this weekend. And in our co-ed division, we do have Shad Investment, Golden Knights. We have Immigration. We also have Past Uniform. And we are so grateful that we actually have a police co-ed team. And it's just great. I'm sure many of them might have heard of him and knowing that he's a fallen officer, just to be a part of it. So we're very, very grateful. We're very grateful for that. So we are looking for excitement this weekend in Grand Bahama, because along with that, we're going to honor 25 persons who've been a part of softball for many years.
Yeah.
And, once we start this, this is something that we look forward to. We're looking to do next year, and we just want to let persons know your name isn't called this time. We will continue this and just try to honor and celebrate many more of the persons who've made a contribution to softball over the years, because it is our sport and it's something that we love. And we just want to thank those persons for just giving up all their years of just coming out to the park.
Not giving up. They ain't give up all theirs. They serve.
Yeah.
They serve. And I want to thank you. I want to commemorate you all for doing this. I want to be able to identify you. That's why, and speaking with Greg Gard, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to talk about this, because I know that it's very difficult in Grand Bahama right now. And to be able to identify this, commemorate, and really acknowledge those persons who have been committed to doing some things over the years, especially during this time, while it may be difficult, I think it really, really touches a soft spot in the hearts of those persons who are participating in these areas. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the president. I want to thank you, Daphne, in your particular capacity, and all those persons who are participating, who could be in a part of this particular softball softball classic that you guys got going on. Listen, is there any way that persons could be able to participate going forward? Is there a number or anything for persons to be able to call if they want to be a part of it, if they want to give, a slow sponsorship or whatever it is? Talk to me about that.
Okay, we do have our email address. It's called Friends for Life 242@gmail.com. So that's Friends for Life spelled out 242@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page that's called Softball Love. Softball Love. They can hit us up. And then, within the sporting softball family here in Grand Bahama as well as Nassau, you mentioned the name Darrell Ware. You mentioned the name Desmond Country Dean, Ramelsis Knowles, Daphne McKinney. They will track us down. Somebody will find us, and we will be able to, just be ready, because we have initiatives already planned for next year, and, sponsorship is always essential in order to get these tournaments as such off the ground.
Well, you guys are doing a wonderful job. I want to thank you again. Friends for Life, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, if you want to be able to participate, if you have softball, if you have baseball, if you have slow pitch, fast pitch, any of these things in your blood and you want to be able to participate, especially if you know about what's going on in Grand Bahama, please hit them up, friendsforlife242@gmail.com, or check them out. What's the Facebook page again?
It's called Softball Love.
Softball Love.
Yes.
Softball Love. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys, please.
Just to mention that we'll have all of our updates. We'll have photos, and we'll have game results. So, persons who just want to find out what's going on, and we want to be able to create that buzz. I see the score. I see some pictures. Let me get out to the park. And once again, the event is being held at the Grand Bahama Sporting Complex. So in Grand Bahama, everyone knows where the track and field stadium is. So you just drive right down to the very back. You can't miss us.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. President, I want you to put any initiatives that you have going forward out there. If you want to talk to the community about these things, please let them know now while you get the chance.
Like I said,
go ahead, Prez. You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Guys, you can hear me good now?
Yeah, I can hear you good now. Go ahead.
Yeah, guys, and Friends for Life, we are an organization based here in Grand Bahama, but we have members throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the United States and Canada. And we are not only softball based. We have fellow persons who are also from different sporting entities, and we reach out. So we are here to assist. We are not part of no association per se, and we don't deal with federation. We only do tournaments or events. We try help wherever expertise are needed. We try go there. Like this probably be our final event for the year. But come next year, we have a tournament scheduled for Abaco. We also want to we want to give back, whether it's in the school or any the association, whatever. We just want to give back, and that's what we're all about. Helping. We want to try build sports in the country at the same time, helping the young persons to be better citizens throughout the country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, man. I want to thank both of you so very kindly for being able to do that. And I want to thank all of y'all for being able to participate. If you're out here in the city of Nassau and you want to be able to participate, you want to be able to do these things, please reach out to them, friendsforlife242@gmail.com, or check them out at Softball Love on Facebook to be able to participate in these things. It starts May 25th and goes all the way through Sunday. They got it ram-packed. Being able to honor 25 persons, this is a wonderful thing. It's time for you to be able to participate and make some things happen. Gentlemen, ladies, I thank you so much for being able to participate in these things and being able to reach out. Thank you for your patience and doing that.
Thank you so much. We were glad to be here. We were really honored for just to have the platform. So thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime. All right. I'm going to be in Grand Bahama from the 5th to the 9th. I'll be reaching out to you guys to kind of give some more information. That's all right.
Sounds great.
96.9 FM Radio, Howard Grant. We're going to take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
Never in your wildest dreams. Oh no. Never in your wildest dreams. Could it ever be this easy? Never in your wildest dreams.
Make your morning sizzle with breakfast from Burger King Nassau. Enjoy not one, but 2 delicious sausage and cheese croissantwiches made just for you for only $5.75 including VAT. This breakfast classic is made with Burger King's savory sizzling sausage and melted American cheese on that classic buttery croissant you love. So say hello to Sizzling Mornings at Burger King with 2 sausage and cheese croissantwiches for only $5.75 including VAT. Only at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
My business couldn't survive without my credit card machine from Fidelity. It's fast, convenient, and my clients love it. My sales increased, and I can track my earnings. Get your credit card machine from Fidelity today. Call 356-7764.
Get ready, Bahamas. The Bahamas Football Association and the Ministry of Education proudly present Samuel P. Haven Jr. High School Soccer Nationals. May 19th to 27th, witness the best high school soccer action at the Roscoe ALDB Soccer Fields, featuring top senior girls and boys teams from across our islands in the first National Soccer Championship in 3 years. Catch the R. Billy Paces, St. Andrews Hurricanes, Patrick J. Bethel, Mighty Monarchs, and many more as they compete for the ultimate prize. Don't miss this exciting event. Bring your friends and family to cheer on and support our talented young athletes, the future of Bahamian soccer. More info at bahamasfa.net. See you there.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Let me say the same, baby. Since we've been together, ooh, loving you forever is all I need. Let me be the one you come running to. I'll never be untrue. Oh, baby, let's stay together. Loving you times are good or bad.
96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, the foundation, just being able to give a little commemoration to one of the greatest. I mean, come on, talk to me. Somebody texted me a little earlier and says, Howard, don't mention Ike. I mean, how the hell I can mention Tater and don't mention Ike? I think what's more important here is her resilience, her commitment, her position, her endurance. She is truly one of the best. We're definitely going to miss her. And we continue to be able to look for this caliber of persistence and commitment. Not just for entertainment, but for life change. Tina Gone, ladies and gentlemen, 83 years old. It's a wonderful thing, man. We're going to be able to wrap it up today. I thank you so very kindly for that. 96.9. I saw a lot of texts. Let me see if I can read some of these texts. I saw a lot of telephone calls before we got out of here, right? And I got a tremendous amount of texts. Let me see if I can read a couple of these things. It says, I tried to understand Sparky, but he starts to sound like an atheist. Does he think that God put us here without giving us divine instructions, or we evolved from apes? Someone had to write the commandments. By every man that changes God's words will have a special place in hell. This is a text that's coming through. I just reading the text that actually kind of compiled over the time. It says, please don't mention, or this is the one, please don't mention Ike. This is great shows. The user will tell your guests, black people don't support black people. And when they do, they ask for discounts or credit. Boy, I tell you. He says, but they don't do that at Kelly's, right? Let me just be very clear with you, okay? Because I feel like he was talking about me just now, right? I feel like listen to me, okay? I'm going to ask you for a discount. Whether we in Clark's shoe store or Kelly's, Howard Grant is, listen. My father, he hates when I do this. He hates it. He absolutely hates it. He said, the man price is the man price. I said, excuse me, how do I know that until I ask? I said, how do I know that? When I come to you, I have a price in mind. I can tell you the short story, very short. I had a 1996 Cadillac DeVille Pearl. It was an 18-inch low profile, 18-inch chrome, low profile. Now, I didn't do anything to trick the thing out. I didn't do anything to it. It had painted butter leather interior. You could tell I love the car, right? Painted butter leather interior, big, deep trunk. I put two 15-inch subwoofers in the thing, right? Humongous. I put a bass amp. This is in my early 20s. I had to have been about 23, 24, before I had kids, right? So I had a bass amp, and I had a vocal amp. Man, listen to me. This thing was beautiful. Now, I saw this car, and I knew I needed this car. It sat there on the dock. I dropped my wife to work. Right? Every day I drop her to work. It's sitting there. So it was 6 months past. I said, baby doll, who car this is, right? She said, I don't know, right? So I did some investigation, some digging, so forth and so on. And eventually we got to find, now listen, please, this is 20 years ago, almost 20 years. Right? So eventually we thought to find out. Come to find out, I know the fellow. I know him, right? So I tell him, I say, I want this Cadillac that you got. So he said, yeah, you want a Cadillac? I said, yeah. He said, all right. He gave me a price, right? I think he said about $3,000, right? He gave me a price. So he says, you could get it for that. And he showed me the invoice that he spent. He fixed it up and everything in the States. He showed me the invoice, right? He spent about $2,200 on it. So I said to him, I said, listen, man, I appreciate you showing me this. I said, but I know. Call me when you need something. One day he called me out of the blue. He says, Howard, you still want that car? He said, going to Miami. Everything is Miami. He meant Port Everglades. He was on the boat. So he said, get to Miami. So I said, okay. He said, I got to go today, but let me know so I could be able to carry it. So I said, okay, no problem. I had $3,000. I burst the thing in half, right? So 15 and 15. I took $1,500, and if he's listening to the story, I know he's going to be pissed with me, but nonetheless, this is the story. So I take $1,500, right? Because the man already introduced vulnerability. He introduced this kind of desperation. He told me he go into the States, he need money. That's all this mean to me, right? So I say I take $1,500, and I change it all U.S. Boom. This is Howard, right? This is what I learned at the hotel. Obviously, this is the Angophilia, right? So take the $1,500, all U.S. currency, bam, put it in my right pocket. And then I got the other $1,500 Bahamian currency in my left pocket. So I go there with the bill of sale, everything like that, ready to go. Everything ready to go. You can't, listen, I got the stamp on it, the whole thing. You remember how to do the thing, right? So he said, Howard, you got the 3,000? I said, boy, I try my hardest to be able to get that, you know. I said, I got 1,500. And I pulled it out. All American cash. He didn't have to go nowhere to change this. Crisp bills. I got it from the hotel. I said, so, I mean, I could give you the 1,500. Well, I'll tell you what, I can hold the $1,500. And when you come back, I'll take care of you. He says to me, no, man, Howard, give me the 1,500. The car hadn't been here for 6 months. He didn't lose all kind of money. $1,500. Now, my point to you is, do not fight me for the black in me. I'm going to ask you for a discount. It is your responsibility to tell Howard no. And don't fight me for it. Okay? I just want to put that out there. Because my grandma say, baby, you ain't gonna never know until you try your hand. So don't fight the black people for trying their hand. There's a couple things out there, guys. I want to thank you so very kindly for that, man. It says Martin Luther King was not a Christian. He said that he did not believe in the biblical Jesus Christ. He was a fake. So your guess is wrong about the origin of the word amen. The word amen is a Hebrew and Greek word that means so be it. The word amun means hidden, one invisible. The word amun is Amun. And Amun are not the same word as amen. Very disturbing if he knows better, and puzzling if he didn't. This is sort of a text that came through. It says, good day, Howard. Can you ask your guests if he ever watched a video called The Origin of Illegitimacy of a People Called Jew by Dr. J. Higgins. That's the text is coming through, man. Guys, I thank you so very kindly for being able to participate. Tomorrow we got at the top of the show, Cable Bahamas is going to be coming in. And I may have a little spice for you. You enjoyed that show Tuesday. You enjoyed that show with my good friend Garth Roseborough. He said he couldn't stop getting calls. I got called 1 o'clock in the morning. Howard, I can't sleep. I was listening to the thing. I listened to this. Oh my God, Howard, I got work at 6 o'clock. I listened back to the show. If y'all want me to continue on that, please give me a call, 827-0111. But we got some good stuff down for you tomorrow.